Hey, who's out there? Who's out there? You want to come in? All right, just a second. All right, there we go. All right. Well, hey, welcome to the Shade Tree Garage. I'm Jim, your host. Come on in, grab a seat. We'll talk a while. All right, have a seat. Have a seat. Good to have you here in the Shade Tree Garage. Let me give you a little background. Shade Tree Garage has been on YouTube since about early 2024. And it is the name comes from, well, kind of a nod to the backgrounds of most of us, most of the guys who stopped by. Most of us spent much of our younger days working on cars under our parents' carport or shade trees. Uh, or you were under a car in a carport or under a shade tree, doing what you needed to do. And fueled by a passion for working on cars and automotive stuff in general. Okay. Um, and I've spent most of my career as a shade tree mechanic doing just that. Now, about 4 years ago, I built this garage. And ironically, to do that, I had to cut down my shade tree, which I did. And the stump of it is just right outside the wall here. But I was happy to sacrifice my personal shade tree to have this nice have this nice uh, 30 or 28 by 30. Actually, I was happy to sacrifice my personal shade tree for this 28 by 42 building. Nice concrete pad, out of the rain, out of the elements. It's a much nicer environment to work on than under in the wet dirt underneath the car after a spring rain. So here in the Shade Tree Garage, to my left is the not my first classic car, but one of the latest ones I've gotten, 1956 Plymouth Belvedere. Now this Plymouth has a history I won't go into in depth, but one of my classmates in high school, many moons ago, he was a big Mopar fan, and he had an early '60s Valiant. However, when he was out on a date with his girlfriend, he on a cold February night, his car slid off the road into a ravine, and my girlfriend and I was taking her home. She was just lived down the road, and I ran up on Gary and his girlfriend, and I saw headlights down in the ravine, and I thought, So my girlfriend and I stopped and went down the ravine and realized it was Gary, and his beautiful Plymouth Valiant was upside down in the creek. Anyway, it totaled it, and so his next car, he got a 1956 Plymouth from his grandfather. Originally, it was black over white, two tone, and he repainted it in factory colors, dark blue over light blue. Now that was interesting because the original two tone uh, in that year, those two colors did go together, reversed, light blue over dark blue. But I really like the way Gary did it, his rendition of the factory colors. Anyway, Gary had the car. He bought the car about 1979, and that's about the same year I bought my 1955 Chevrolet two-door hardtop. And his car was original; it was stock, and he liked it that way. And my '55 Chevy was not so stock. It came with a one-piece fiberglass front end, a radical cam, and a 327 cubic inch Chevy V8 with an 850 double pumper Holley carburetor on top. Muncie Brock Crusher 4-speed transmission and a 390 rear end. My Chevy was built for speed and acceleration. Anyway, but Gary and I were friends through high school, and also because we both love cars. And I really had a deep appreciation for his love of his Chrysler products. And I have to say, his car, his car was his baby through his adult years, and he passed away in 2017. And that's I saw the car for sale a couple of years later on Facebook Marketplace, and I thought, that's Gary's car. Who's selling Gary's car? Well, a gentleman had bought it out of town and was aiming to give it to his girlfriend, but he no longer needed the car because he had a new girlfriend who didn't want a classic car. So I went to see it, and I had to have it. Brought it home a few days later. So now I've drove it for several years in car cruises, and now I'm in the process of going through it, fixing rust. Now, the mid 50s Chrysler products were not well rust proofed, and they built them fast and built them quick, and as a result, the ones, especially in northern climates, suffered from a lot of rust. That's why you don't see quite so many of them as you do Chevrolets. Anyway, but I've kept the. I'm working now on the Plymouth to get it to fix all the rust, and then get it repainted, paint it, and then get it back on the road. It's a sweet driving car. It really is. Uh, However, now I owned my first 55 Chevy for 33 years, and I was familiar with how many reproduction parts were available. A lot. You could just about build a car from scratch using reproduction parts. However, when I bought the 56 Plymouth, there are no reproduction parts available outside a replacement gas tank and a sending unit. And that's it. Everything else is new old stock or used from someone else. And so it's a whole different it's a whole different world when you're looking for to repair things on your mid 50s Plymouth. So anyway, the 56 Plymouth is underway. It's got a 277 Poly V8 engine, 2 barrel carburetor, automatic transmission, and drives well. Doesn't have power steering or power brakes, but even for mid 50s car, it does fine. Now I sold my 55 Chevy, my original one, about almost 10 years ago, and I've regretted it ever since. And so I knew one day I'd get another 55 Chevy, and that day came in the 1st of January this year. I bought a 55 two-door station wagon. That needed it. It's a project car, of course, but the important thing was it had a great engine and drivetrain that worked really well. It had solid bones, so I have it on the other side of the garage. You can see it peeking out over there. Currently putting seat belts in it. But I bought when I got the car. It had a title in Kentucky, but it wasn't a title for use to put tags on it on the road. It's called a classic car title, and it's designed to uh, register ownership of a project car that you're working on. So to convert that to a title where you could get license plates, you have to get the car complete so it passes a safety inspection. And that's what and I spent the first 3.5 months of this year doing just that. So I bought the 55 wagon knowing that it did not meet the criteria for a license plate. And so I drove it home without any sort of, hadn't even transferred the registration yet, but drove it home anyway on a January night. It was 34 degrees, and I'm missing 3 windows in the car. No heater, and 3 windows, and trying to drive the thing home. It was a breezy ride, let's put it that way. Anyway, so I spent a little over 3 months working to get the windows fixed, rebuild the mechanical parts of the passenger door, to get all the lights functioning, the alternator working, and other tasks. The project, there was more of a project there than I expected, but I wasn't surprised. There's one of the rules of classic cars is Murphy's Law of classic cars. Whatever can go wrong probably already has. You just don't know what that is yet. All right. Anyway, the Shade Tree Garage is dedicated to all the work I'm doing on the Plymouth, the Chevy, and whatever else happens to roll in here on wheels. You know, it can be the riding mower. It could, be my wife's car. It could be the ancient 1995 Suzuki Sidekick I've got in the barn that right now my son is driving. The camper that we bought that we got for free earlier this year. So anyway, it can be there's no end to the fun, hopefully fun things that happen here in the Shade Tree Garage. So I hope you'll stick around. Feel free to subscribe, and always, please, I appreciate your comments a lot. I like to hear feedback, especially if you've been doing something similar or you've had similar experiences. We learn from each other, and that's one of the things I like to stress. And some of my screw ups have been some of my most popular videos. Sad to say, but I'm not afraid to say, "Oh, I screwed that up." Uh, just ask my wife; she'll tell you. I had a compressor a year old and ruined the compressor by changing the oil and only putting half of the correct amount back in. Yeah, I did that. All right. Well, thanks for stopping by, and please feel free to hang out a while, leave a comment, subscribe, and and keep track of what's happening here in the Shade Tree Garage. If nothing else, I hope to be entertaining, as if not educational. Take care. We'll see you next time.